is what I think could happen. So I'm gonna be still picking Charles Oliveira. I think he's got more ways to win. And usually when I'm picking fights, I go with the guy who has more ways to win. I just think that's the winner most of the times, at least.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, I think Oliveira isn't gonna mind going to the ground with Islam. So I think if Islam shoots for takedown, like I don't think he's gonna mind going to the ground. But
Yeah.
my concern about Charles is that he's gonna go for these take submissions, but it will never come. And then eventually, like the judges will see the ground control time for Makhachev that'll be controlling Charles. Not really like Charles will keep throwing submissions, but he's going to be on top of him for multiple minutes at a time. And then I think that they're going to give Islam the rounds in those situations. And I think like if the submission never comes, then Islam will win by decision. Or if the knockout
Well,
doesn't
here's
come.
I see your point, but again, the issue is every round starts on the feet,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. I mean, I rewatched that Gagey and Charles fight yesterday, and Charles Oliveira rocked Justin Gagey within the first 8 seconds of that fight.
Oh
He
yeah, he
ran
did.
right at him and hit him with a big right hand, and that wobbled Gagey right away. And Gagey said since then that from the moment that the fight started, he was rocked. Like from the moment it
Yeah.
started, he was rocked up until he was finished. He was rocked. So I think that Charles has this just knack for just stinging guys and just hurting them and just changing the tide. I mean, he's broken the best fighters. He broke Justin Gaethje. He broke him down, choked him out. He broke Dustin Poirier, outlasted him. Beat him up on the ground as well. Stung him on the feet. Hurt him to the body, and eventually gassed him. I mean, remember, Dustin Poirier is the guy who's got a good gas tank. That is until he faces a guy that's a wrestler. Charles Oliveira is no wrestler. He gassed out Dustin Poirier, who is known for breaking guys, who's known for outlasting guys. He brought Dustin into the deep waters. I actually am pretty confident in Charles Oliveira's cardio, and I understand what you're saying. There's a chance that Makhachev is not going to get submitted. I think Makhachev's, he's been grappling throughout his whole life. So he's very good on the ground, right? He's been grappling throughout his whole life. He's strong. He has great positional awareness. I just think that Charles Oliveira is going to be good enough to, even if he's not getting the submissions, I think he's going to be good enough to scramble and get to his feet. I think that Charles Oliveira is going to show, these Dagestani guys like what one of the best jiu-jitsu artists to ever grace the sport can do. Because here's the thing. Charles Oliveira has the most submission wins in UFC history. And people will just say that and just not understand what that means for someone who's 32. You look at the list of the top guys with the most submissions in UFC history, and all of them are either retired, like dudes that fought into their 40s, like Damian Maia, or they're guys that are old and washed up. And guess what? Charles Oliveira leads that by a landslide. Guys like Damian Maia, legend with jiu-jitsu. Guys avoided him on the ground like the plague. He's at 11. He fought a long career. Charles Oliveira's fought a long career. He's only 32. That dude's going to get 25 fucking submissions before he retires. I do not think that's a fluke. And here's the thing. Guys say Islam and Khabib, they're just different on the ground. They've got a different strike. Who have they fought? That's my biggest thing. It's like, yeah. Who has Khabib ever fought that is anywhere near the level of jiu-jitsu or ground game as Charles Oliveira? Who has Makhachev ever fought? We saw an example of a guy who is sort of like Khabib, sort of like Makhachev in Khamzat Chimaev. And I don't put too much stake in this. But what I did see was I saw Gilbert Burns, who I believe is not as good as Charles Oliveira on the ground, get out of a bad position where Khamzat Chimaev was trying to take his back. I think that Charles Oliveira can do a similar thing. And I think that the size difference between Burns and Khamzat is bigger than the size difference between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. And I think that Charles Oliveira is going to have it within him to get up to his feet. And I think he's going to be able to do that for at least 2 or 3 rounds. Here's the thing. I think that the cardio of the, Dagestani guys is probably next level. I mean, Khabib never got tired in his fights. I mean, he's hardly ever got tired. So we'll see if Makhachev can do that. But Makhachev's only been to the fourth round with Thiago Moises, who, in my opinion, is the most. I mean, Thiago Moises is a fucking can as far as UFC is concerned. I'm sorry to if Thiago, if you ever see this, like people played Thiago Moises up to be this badass jiu-jitsu player. How he made the rankings is beyond me. But the lightweight division today is much better than it was even back then. I don't even know how the guy made the rankings. And that's, in my opinion, Makhachev's toughest match when it came to the ground game. And he was struggling with Thiago Moises, taking him down. He was working hard. I mean, that was not an easy fight. Sure, he controlled the whole thing. He won every round. But still, he worked really hard for that. Charles Oliveira is not gonna let you work with him that patiently. He's not gonna do that. I just see Islam Makhachev again, rude awakening. But I understand. So you don't think that Charles? You think that the Islam? You watch their fights. You think that Islam's going to be able to hold Charles down? It possibly, like a good chance.
So
it could happen.
I still have Charles winning by KO in the first round. I think I think he's gonna have. This is what I do. This is what I think. I think Charles is gonna have too much to offer for Islam, and I think he is gonna finish him in the first round. But I would not be surprised if Makhachev, if it goes past the first round, and Charles isn't gonna avoid going to the ground. That's what I think. I think Charles is not gonna avoid going to the ground because of how good he is at jiu-jitsu. So he'll let Islam take him to the ground, in my opinion. I think he will, and I think that's a mistake. Because if the submission, in that case, you better hope that the submission comes, or else you're going to lose the fight, in my opinion. So that's what I think. So my concern is that Charles is going to not avoid going to the ground with Islam, and I think he should, because I think he's the way better striker than Makhachev. I think on the feet he knocks Makhachev out, but I think he's so confident in his jiu-jitsu that he'll let him take him to the ground, and I think that'll be a mistake because if the submission doesn't come, he's going to lose the fight.
Do you put any stake into this least amount of strikes absorbed per minute from Islam?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't think Islam is great. He's not great on his feet, guys. Like, let's not fool ourselves. Makhachev is not great on his feet. He hasn't shown anything to like make us say he's good on his feet.
He's good. I'll give him credit. He's good defensively, but the reason he's good defensively is because he's fought everyone that's scared shitless of his wrestling. I think Charles is gonna open up from the get-go.
I just like I said, my concern is that Charles is gonna mind going to the ground. I think he should really try to avoid it. Because if that's
the issue, because if he tries to avoid it, I think he will be so much more tentative on the feet. And I think that's why Islam just gets away with not taking any damage on the feet, because guys are scared shitless of the takedown. If Charles Oliveira marches forward, throws a front kick to the face, a knee to the body, big hooks, up, I think Charles Oliveira needs to go in there batshit crazy, bro, like straight up. He needs to go in there and rock Islam right away. He needs to run across the cage and rock him right away.
What if he goes for a knee and Makhachev takes him down?
But here's the thing. It's better because then, so what? He'll take him down. He still has all of his energy. And I believe that he can scramble. I really do think Oliveira's way to lose this fight is by not being aggressive on the feet. I think if he's tentative and he doesn't move forward, he loses his fight. Charles Oliveira got to where he is. He won his belt by moving forward. He knocked out Michael Chandler by moving forward. Knocked down Gagey by moving forward, submitted Poirier and gassed him out by moving forward. If he does not move forward and he takes a step back, he's going to lose this fight. And I'm going to be pissed, but I'm going to say that's what the fuck that's how he lost this fight. That's how he's always going to lose this fight. So if on October 22nd, we see Charles Oliveira taking big steps back, being really tentative, not having a lot of output, I think he loses the fucking fight. I think I'd be pissed if I saw that.
And one more note I heard from somebody, I forgot who said it, but they talked about when Charles fought Chandler, and that was the guy who he didn't submit. He finished. He knocked him out. And Chandler is a good strong wrestler.
Yeah.
So that's what my fear is. My fear is that the submissions may not work on a strong wrestler like Makhachev. So,
but he also had Chandler's back at one moment. I mean,
he couldn't get the submission though. Chandler was just too strong. And I think, I don't know. I'm fearing that Charles won't mind going to the ground. And I just think that he will look for submissions. Like, he will definitely look for submissions. He will definitely try to throw up submissions. But if the submission doesn't come, they're going to give Makhachev those rounds. They will. And that's just my concern, you know?
I agree.
I
think that
also.
I think so. I just think that, Oliveira is, if he is any way tentative, he can't win. Like, if Oliveira flows and he marches forward and he goes wherever the fight goes, I think he wins. But I think if Oliveira is going to stay there and tell himself, I can't get in this position, that's the end, because that's going to be in your mind the whole time. He needs to, like, there's this level of invincibility that these Dagestani guys have. He needs to put an end to it, like Leon Edwards did with Kamaru. At any moment, you can be knocked out. He needs to make every moment count. He should not be taking back steps. Again, I think that he's good enough to get to the ground. And I think Oliveira, if he can, if Oliveira can scramble and he can get up, I think he'll take that option rather than chasing a submission. I think that he knows.
I mean, that's
comes
the better.
To the feet,
yeah.
And I don't Here's the thing. I mean, sure, guys can land takedowns, but in the open, Charles, like, he's landing all of his takedowns on the cage. I don't think he has a good enough chance to take him down. But we could talk about this all day. But I
just want to say one more note about that. Is just like, Islam's got a great chin. I know he got knocked out that one time, but those Russians, those Dagestanians, have ridiculous chins. And I just, like, what if Charles can't get him out in the first round? You know, like, what if he struggles?
I think he gets him out in the second or third.
My concern, like, I still am picking Charles first round TKO. My concern is that he won't mind going to the grounds, and, like, he will keep trying to
that's a good thing, though.
But he'll keep trying to. What if he keeps trying to throw these submissions and it just never comes? And then down the road,
I think if he's chasing submissions, they're not coming. I think he's scrambling and trying to get up to his feet.
But what if he can't scramble and get back to his feet?
Then he loses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's my concern.
For sure. That's Islam.
I think that's a real concern.
I think it is too, but I genuinely, I just don't see Islam doing it. I don't see him holding down Charles like that. I don't.
Dude, I don't think it's going to be holding him. I think he's going to, like, I just, like, I just think he needs to.
If he's not holding him down, he's losing on the ground. That's all I'm saying. If he's not on top,
not if Charles is submitting him, he will be on top. Like, what if Charles, like, keeps trying to throw up submissions and just never comes, but Islam has the top control? They're going to give the round to Islam.
Well, then it'll be the most boring fight of all time, and I'll be cool with it because then everyone will hate him.
So that's my concern, you know? Like, I think I don't want to see a hesitant Charles. That's not what I want to see. I just want to see a Charles that tries to scramble rather than keep throwing up submissions. You know,
when I hear you say I want to see Charles, I think there's trying to scramble, get up to his feet is the best thing I think he could do.
Yeah.
If he can't get the submissions, if he has an opportunity to get a submission, he could land a submission. If he can't, I think getting up to his feet is the best thing. However, I don't think he should be scared about the takedown. I think that's his downfall.
No. I just think that, like, he shouldn't, like, want to go to the ground.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
No, I don't mind that take. I don't mind that take. I think that's a decent take because, again, I don't think the chances of him submitting Islam are very good.
Exactly.
I think that Oliveira's best chance to win this fight is by TKO or KO.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
But we also saw what happened to Usman, man. I mean, Usman, the dude got flatlined, KO'd. You know, anyone could get KO'd, honestly. Yeah. It could happen, man. And I think that Charles Oliveira is a better finisher than Leon Edwards. I think he's a better finisher. I think that Kamaru Usman's a better fighter than Islam Makhachev. I'm not listening. Islam could go out there and prove me wrong and win. How could I pick him if I've never seen him do anything impressive against a guy who's actually well-rounded and in the top 10 and ranked?
Oh, no. Like, I'm picking Charles. Like, I'm still picking Charles. I have a fear. Like, I'm worried.
No,
You
no,
know,
I agree. That's my
I'm
fear
gen
too.
I'm generally worried for the first time in the last week. I'm worried for the first time. Like I'm seriously
Hey
worried.
man, I
I'm worried
understand.
about
I
Charles
think
not fighting smart. Let's just say that. Like
I'm just choosing that. I'm just choosing, like, honestly, I've made my peace, bro. I've picked my pick and I'm riding with it. And of course, something could change my mind. But I watched that Moises fight back and I didn't see a fucking thing. And I watched his fight with Drew Dober and I didn't see a thing that made me worried about him fighting Charles. I think Charles is gonna light him up, bro. I really do.
yeah, I hope so. Again, I don't want him to like be super like wanting to. I don't want him to want to go to the ground.
Bro, I gotta
Let's just say
say,
that.
Charles Oliveira and Conor McGregor has got to be. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev has got to be like the most anticipated fight this like in recent memory.
Oh yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think there's been a fight that's been as anticipated since McGregor and Habib. I think that's a pretty clear case. Like I don't think any fight has been nearly as anticipated since McGregor and Habib. I mean, think about it. There have been some big fights. There have been some really big fights, but none of them are on this level. I think that this is a bigger fight than um I can't think of another fight
Let
that's
me
even
ask
bigger
you:
than
Is
this.
how many pay-per-views do you think this is gonna sell?
Honestly, I think this is going to be close to. So here's the thing. Even though there may have been like a pay per view that Masvidal's been on that sold over 1 million, I
That
don't
was
think
during
no.
COVID, though. Like that
I
was
think that was during COVID, and also I think the pay per view rates are going to continue to drop just based on more people streaming. I think that this is probably going to sell upwards of 800,000. I think 800,000 at least. This sells just because of how big the main event is and how stacked the card is. I think this is going
also
to be a huge fight.
also Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan is on there.
That's on it. I mean, all
Aljo.
the hardcores are on this card, and I think that this fight is so hyped up and so anticipated that this shit's gonna sell like 800K. Because this, in my opinion, is the Tony and Habib. This is the fight that like this is the most anticipated fight of
The
my life.
hardcores.
Maybe. I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
the last time I was this hyped for a fight was Conor and Habib, and I think back then that picking I was picking Connor, but I kind of knew that like there's a big chance that he was gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, I remember
Because
that.
I knew that like man, I really wanted Connor to win. If Connor beat Habib, the world
That
would
would
have
have been
been
impressive.
a different place.
That would have been
Connor
wild.
knocked out Habib, man, that would have been the best universe to be in. But yeah, I had the same worry that you had, but way worse when he was fighting Habib because I knew for a fact that if he doesn't get this, like it's going to be really bad for him if he doesn't finish Habib early. And I don't think it's going to be as bad for Charles if he doesn't finish Islam. I think Charles could potentially win by decision. I think that there's a chance that
I think
Islam
a
could ride him
decision
out to
would be
decision
so hard. I
because
don't.
I think that for example, man, I really think that
How would he win by decision? That's my
Charles is a dog, bro. I think you're also here's another thing that we're not really taking into account. What if this is a back and forth? Like, what if this is about gritting down? Like Charles, I think he's got the dog in him, man. We don't know that about Islam.
yeah.
Islam's never been tested.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't know.
If he's been
I think
knocked out, it's
if you
never been
told me
tested.
someone got decision like was a decision, I would probably say Islam would win. But I know what you mean. Like Islam has not been tested.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would definitely if it goes to decision, I think Islam wins. But I think Charles may have a chance there. Let's move on to another